we come to the end of the liturgical year, our readings also lead us to the end times. The end times in which we live, that started maybe 2,000 years ago and are very young still, most likely, as the world's history unfolds and God's salvation takes root in our world and in our lives. But these readings are kind of dark and I think run the risk of not having a lot of meaning to us. This talk of persecution, of being dragged before tribunals, of being handed over by family members, of being put to death, of being hated by all, it seems very exaggerated, very different from our own experience of living religion, from our own night prayers with our children and asking for our parking angel to help us find a spot at HEB. That our experience of religion is very calm and easy compared to these stories that Jesus tells of the times in which we live. And so I was thinking maybe something of a switch of our mentality could be helpful. Not that there's anything wrong, but that maybe we're looking at it from the wrong perspective. There's a kind of a famous philosophical shift that happened in the scientific studies of astronomy with Copernicus, the Copernican revolution, that we had a very detailed understanding from the great philosopher and mathematician Ptolemy of where we could find the planets and the stars, that his models would predict tomorrow night's night sky perfectly. But he built his entire model on some very complex mathematics that placed the world, the earth, at the center of the universe, and had the sun and the planets and the stars all rotating around the earth. And Copernicus comes and says, but it would be so much simpler if the sun was the center of the universe and we rotated around the sun. And that changes not just the math. His diagrams also predicted perfectly. He used all of Ptolemy's math, and his diagrams would also perfectly predict the night sky next week. But he shifts some assumptions about what is in the center and what matters the most. And oftentimes in our lives, without necessarily changing all of the observations or the math, we come to a place where we recognize maybe we should change the center. And if we're the center of the universe and God is a planet circling around us and kind of a spiritual religious bauble that we can turn to as needed when we're struggling with a test or emotionally unsure or scared or needing a parking spot. That's one perspective. But if God is the center of the universe and we're mere asteroids, like flung around space, it's a better starting place to understand our relationship and to understand the gravity of our religious endeavors. If religion is salt and pepper, if the hardest thing we have to do is try to figure out how we're going to make time to get to church on Sunday or to say a prayer during the day, if our effort is how am I going to find time, or the sense of guilt that I don't find time for God in my day, maybe that's all upside down. Because what matters is that God has time for us in his day, What matters is that we've become part of something, the body of Christ, the mystery of salvation, these end times that lead to the world's redemption. And that God is inviting us into something incredible. That maybe that shift from us to God might even lead to a better balance and a greater peace and a better understanding, a more accurate, more true relationship with God in our lives.